This always happens when I go on break from YouTube. I should be aware that engaging people online only increases the likelihood of being bombarded with stupidity. So, this video is dedicated to combating it. Any person of color can be declared a racist in this society. Some of the nationalist, racist whites, and race realists would like you to think this is a rare incident within America. They have constructed a meme that somehow blacks have hoodwinked society into believing that they do not have the ability to behave poorly. Either one is or is not a tyrant based on their behavior. There is no special treatment. Hatred for whites is not given a pass by those who are consistent in their standards. As long as people speak in absolutes about each other, it will continue to perpetuate the popular fantasy diatribes. Unfortunately, what it means to be racist does not conform to the original definition. The standards of what it means to be racist differs in America depending not only on the race of the speaker, their individual agenda, but the environment from which they speak. The term appears to have been purposely abused in this society as to lose its significance. Couple this with the cult of victimhood that resides on multiple sides of the fence, and we have a hot mess. All of these groups have a grievance industry where the minority's failure is blamed on the majority, and the majority's insecurities are placed on the backs of the minority. They are married to each other and have a codependent relationship. Yet, both ardently believe that all issues of potential social conflict will dramatically decrease if they can just get away from each other. Great marriage, huh? It has been my observation that many people tend to unconsciously filter their personal experiences through narratives they have either been provided or have constructed from no evidence to ones that have much support, but may or may not be the complete picture. What you just heard is one of many. The problem with some people is that they want to side with those that look like them no matter what, even if that person is wrong. They lack accountability for the sake of promoting the illusion of harmony. When you do not demonstrate unity of your own thoughts, this only persuades others to ignore your expression. There is a special breed of racist on YouTube. I have no empathy for this type. I speak of ones who reportedly declare they understand the current state of affairs we all face globally, only to play into the divide and conquer strategy. Willfully, that is. I may lose some of my subscribers over this video, but I do not care. I do not speak from a prejudicial position or self-hate, nor do I suffer from a slave mentality. These are cages my opponents would enjoy placing me within. This allows them to dismiss what I will say without consideration. However, for the sake of clarity, I do not understand the need to falsely label an entire group of people. Never understood that, nor do I accept the hypocrisy of bitching and moaning when this action is done to those who once was administering the same caustic cognitive straining. Beware of those who are not consistent, those who speak of self-responsibility but promote perpetual victimhood status. There are blacks who practice racism. We all know this. If we don't know this, you should know this. The ones I am addressing today have submerged from the bowels of Hebrew Israelites, Nation of Islam, certain schools of Afrocentrism, and Black conscious movement. This is a good time for a disclaimer, don't you think I do? I am not stating that all members of these groups practice racism or carry racist ideology. I acknowledge there are people who belong to these groups who wish to prosper and have a deep love, a deep concern for their people. However, this is the part of the problem from my perspective. Their people is not any member of humanity. They dwell in a space where it is common to only grant favoritism to a racial collective or to a racial collective action. The idea of character is a platitude expressed on a Hallmark card, one you pay lip service to when you want to sound deep, or a ritual regurgitation during the month of February. They cast without critical thought all white people and other ethnicities into the role of criminal. The chief criminal is the Caucasian. No distinctions made for accuracy, mind you. The justification for their labeling is the necessity of defining what they perceive to be reality. No, they are not that honest. They are defined as the all-powerful bandit they want them to be. If you question their reasoning, you are listed as not being willing to accept the criminality of the white man. You are reduced to being his watchdog. Normally, this type of person is so confused that they will say, on one hand, it is not all whites, but on the other hand, will speak in absolutes. Harmony, even in small populations, is impossible to them because those who created this state of mayhem are still in control. They rant about the truth hurting and compare themselves to those who are genuine seekers of things that conform to reality. The favorite line is, "Of course you can call me a bigot," forgetting that their actions have earned them this position. They continue by stating, "Those who criticize the Jews are immediately called anti-Semites." Now, this viper knows there are people who are mislabeled for the purpose of closing discussion, shutting down debate, and yet they revel in taking shelter from this understanding. The next movement generated by these racists is the forecast that you do not live in reality. Yes, they have declared you do not live in reality. They, like the many race realists I have interacted with, and those who practice some form of racial nationalism, scurry to extract any negative reality that they can find to give credence to their world view. How intellectually honest. Like many race realists who like to erroneously declare that blacks, generally speaking, are less intelligent compared to their white counterparts, these black racists prove to be as irrational. The most common weapon being conditional statements, poisoning the well, tainted explanations that actually assumes the results which it is supposed to be proving, and a garden variety of cognitive dissonances that conforms to the biases and fears of those who are participating. All of this is done in order for them to break the conditioning they were born into. Really. Now, go ahead and make that your mantra. But I want no part of it. Also, I spy from all ethnicities inappropriate use of the word racism. Yes, that word again. All groups have members who attempt to gain domination and control over other groups by misusing this term. This makes it difficult for those who have a legitimate claim. And this misuse has nothing to do with being victims of any kind, just manipulation of your sympathies. Breaking conditioning is not the main agenda. They may spout this, but it's bullshit. The extreme elements of these groups want you to believe that all whites, Asians, whatever, are the progeny of murderers, thieves, rapists, psychopaths, and that their only place is under the ground. Their fake concern is expressed with this cover-up. Here it goes, ready for the pitch? That the planet, now get this, has no place for this particular mindset. Nor is this kind of anti-life delusional pathology wanted. Notice, I did state that these are extreme elements. All I can do is shake my head. So damn frustrating. At any point, you will have a group in majority. As the majority, it has the power to introduce a centralization of culture and values and any agenda that upholds their dynamic. Okay? I personally think the race realists, the faction that is obsessed with the use of information to lord over others, is one of many organizations that is meant to maintain the dynamic. At the same point that this majority is in power, the minorities, generally speaking, are in opposition. These people oppose the agenda overwhelmingly and criticize the majority, in some cases rightfully so. Then we have a farce known as contrived social tensions that the extremes on both ends maintain so their position in the conflict does not become obsolete. Sometimes subgroups within the majority join ranks with the minority group. Think white women, and sometimes the minority group, via laws and public sentiment, orchestrate various realities that the majority was primarily, some would say solely, were used to doing. This creates even more tension, as neither side wants to yield due to history and personal narratives that have taken their acuity hostage. The story continues because now, the minority parties who suffered from the aftershock of imperialism, slavery, institutionalized racism, right, etc., begins to introduce, allow, and push various discriminatory actions in hopes of getting even or balancing the playground. Yes, some people like that do exist. All the while, the elite and power money brokers laugh at all of us. This is the royal scam that keeps repeating itself within some variation over and over and over and over and over again. Now, back to the blacks who practice racism. These gullible soft touches resort to rhetoric they pick up from their religious political indoctrination centers or Hollywood. They resort to insults because they cannot flee the fakery and the programming of other professional victims. Think Neely Fuller Jr. They embrace the cruel, excessively greedy persona they equate to reality. How sad. They pound their chests and claim the origins of white supremacy equals race equals racism as the only real racism that exists. The main contention being that no dark people participated in the creation or the defining of the word racism. Also, they inquire, why should blacks accept anything from a white person when they are proven liars and deceivers? Yet, the same ones who complain are willing to use the word racism and the benefits that derive from it when it benefits them. What does this tell us? That many will do whatever they can to reinforce their worldview, never content to question their understanding of reality, but become hostile if you reject, after consideration, their position. Though certain groups of blacks were the focus here, they are not the only ones friendly with this reality. Don't get it twisted. Normally, in your exchange with them, is their critique of your presentation. If you are black and are the critic, then there is an assault made against your speech, methodology, and reasoning. Now, your critics will claim all three have been tainted by a racial virus called what? White influence. It is funny because the white racists also state that you are only mimicking white culture and that your speech, methodology, and reasoning could not be potent if it was not for the influence of, you guessed it, white culture. When examining both groups, it is easy to see why one's blood pressure can rise if you allow it. Though these groups vehemently argue about the differences they have, in reality they have more similarities than they would be comfortable in admitting. The Collective identity is gaining ground everywhere you look. Individual identity is diminishing, and it is seen as selfish when you acknowledge it. It is not all about race, people, nor am I claiming that all black people are imprisoned by this mindset. Though sadly, many times if the official prescription for blackness is not followed, then shunning is not unheard of. Let's wind this down, okay? What they do not want to know is that either or argumentation is problematic in its simplicity. Humans have an amazing amount of nuance. When we sidestep this fact, for the sake of black and white thinking, we are not challenging the dominant status quo. We are strengthening it. It is funny that these racists who claim to have the objective truth are verbally masturbating for the sake of making a power move. Yet, they lack the intentionality that they can do something about their feelings. They are deathly afraid to engage in rational conversation with one they deem as the problem. Goodness sake, they may have to abandon their confirmatory bias. It is also tragic that rigidity of thought settles in as people begin to produce B-rated movie impersonations of themselves while online, not allowing tolerance for anything that rocks the waters of the mind. They sink. They refuse to allow, to expand their thinking around the idea that an internal conflict of facts can coexist within. Since this is an impossibility within their mind, then the external focus yields to this accepted limitation. The unity of thought I mentioned earlier is nothing more than an ongoing balancing act where the social dynamic of your ideas are functioning without a meltdown. I am not interested in any sort of venture with a person who is delusional. I do not care if they share my phenotype or not. I encourage all to honestly, mindfully expose the charlatans, the group identity politic pimps, and snake oil salesmen. Funny thing about culture criminals, they have the need to oppose anyone that is capable of opposing them. They must in order to thrive. Thank you for listening.